Welcome to this video on working with custom widgets. This video is a walkthrough on how to create custom widgets for Syncfusion dashboards and consume it in the Dashboard Designer application. In the Dashboard Designer application, we already have a list of widgets under different categories. You can also include your own custom widget using the widget menu. In the widget menu, choose the Manage Custom Widgets option and you can see the list of custom widgets added in your application in the dialog that is opened. You can also include your own custom widgets by clicking the Add Widget button. Syncfusion custom widgets comes with the SYCW file format, and we already have shipped 2 custom widgets along with the Syncfusion Dashboard Designer installation. In your program data folder under Syncfusion Dashboard Designer, there is a custom widgets folder where you can see the Sparkline and Sunburst chart custom widgets. These custom widgets are added from Dashboard Designer 2.2.0.31 version onwards. In this video, with the help of a Sunburst chart, I am going to show you how to build a custom widget for Syncfusion dashboards. The Sunburst chart is ideal for displaying hierarchical data. Each circle represents a hierarchy with fields and values. The innermost circle represents the topmost hierarchy. I have the JavaScript source for the Sunburst chart. Let me show you how to build a custom widget for integrating with the dashboard. To start with, let us create a template for the custom widget. In your installation folder under Dashboard Designer, you can see a utility named as sycw.exe. This is the utility which helps you in creating the custom widget template. Let me open this. There are 2 commands available. One is for creating a custom widget template and other one is for compiling the template to a valid SYCW file. Let us create a template now. The syntax is create followed by the widget path. Let me name the widget as Sunburst chart. The widget template is now created successfully. We have the custom widget template generated in the mentioned location. Over here, we have a list of folders and files. The icon folder contains the icon for your custom widget. You can also include your own icon for this. The src folder contains the source files of your custom widget. The style folder contains your custom CSS style. readme.txt contains the details of API available for the custom widget. widgetconfig.json is the manifest file that helps you in integrating the custom widget in the Dashboard Designer application. Let us configure this one by one. Let us start with the widgetconfig.json. As said earlier, this is the manifest file for integrating the custom widget in the Syncfusion Dashboard Designer application. There are several settings available. The widget name is followed by the GUID. Each custom widget is provided with a unique ID. It is recommended not to change this in order to maintain the uniqueness of the custom widget. Display name is the title of the custom widget in the Dashboard Designer's toolbox. So let me name this. You can also mention in which category of the toolbox the custom widget has to be added. Since Sunburst chart deals with hierarchical data, we have all those related widgets in the relationship category. So let me include my custom widget in the relationship category. You can add description for your custom widget. In the Dashboard Designer, on doing the mouse over operation, you can see the description of each and every widget available. Let me add the description for my custom widget. src file setting contains the relative path for your source file. Let us look into this later. Version setting contains the Dashboard Designer's version number. Since I am using the 2.2.0.31 version, I am not going to change this. The dependencies settings contains the relative path for your dependent scripts and styles. Let us configure this later in this video. Now we have come to the most important configuration settings, that is the data field settings and functionality settings. Let me explain this with the help of an example. Let me add a grid to the design canvas. In the widget design view, we have two sections. One is the properties section and other one is the data section. The data section is where you configure data for your widget, and properties section is where you modify the properties and customize your widget. These properties settings and data configurations differs based on the widget type. You can configure these settings for your custom widget in the widgetconfig.json file. Configurations related to the data section must be added in the data fields settings, and configurations related to the properties section should be added in the functionalities settings. Let us configure the data field settings now. In the data section, over the left side, we have the fields of the selected data source. All the numeric fields comes under the measures category. All the other fields such as string, datetime field comes under the dimensions category, and calculated fields comes under the expression columns category. Over the right side, we have few configurable areas where you can drag and drop the fields. These configurable areas vary based on the selected widget type and also based on the capability of the widget. For a grid, we have columns and hidden columns. For a map, we'll have shape and values. In case of Sunburst chart, all we need is two things: fields under different levels and their values. Let us now configure the data fields. There are several settings available for the data field settings. Display name is the title of the configurable area in the dashboard designer. Value type is the type of field that can be bound to the area. Each field contains a name, and we also have min and max settings. These settings represents the minimum and maximum number of fields that can be bound to the area. If binding data over the region is optional, you can make the field as optional, or if the data is mandatory, make the optional field as false. For the Sunburst chart, I need to add two settings, that is value and level. Let me name the first area as value. Value type should be measure, as only numeric types can be bound to the value. Let me provide the name as value. At present, the Sunburst chart has the capability of representing only one value. Let me modify the value as 1. Optional is already set as false. It is mandatory to add the field to the value section, so I have named this as false. The next area is the level. Dimensions can be bound to that area. Provide the name as level. The Sunburst chart I have as the capability of showing 4 different levels, so let me modify the maximum value as 4, and again the optional value should be false because the data is mandatory. Now we have successfully configured the data field settings. Let us configure the functionality settings now. As said earlier, all the configurations related to the properties sections should be done in the functionality settings. By default, all the widgets will have the header, description and container appearances settings. All the other settings are optional, and the user can manually configure them for their custom widgets based on the capability of the widgets. Let us configure the basic settings for the Sunburst chart. The Sunburst chart has these settings. First one is the ability to show or hide the title. The next one is the ability to get the title text from the user. You can also modify the data label rotation mode. There are two types of rotation mode available. One is the normal or horizontal mode. Other one is the rotation mode. It varies based upon the rotation angle of the segment. The ability to show or hide the legend. Sunburst chart also has the ability to zoom in. You can enable or disable this action. You can also enable or disable the animations. There are two types of animations available. One is the rotation mode and other one is the fade in mode. Let us configure all these settings in the widgetconfig.json file. For configuring the properties, Syncfusion custom widgets provide support for 5 different types of controls. One is the checkbox, next one is the text box, color picker, numeric up-down control and combo box. For all these controls, you can define the default value. In case of up-down control, you can provide the minimum and maximum values, and in case of combo box, you can provide the list of items along with the default value. I'm going to make use of these controls and configure the properties for the Sunburst chart. First one is the show title property. Let me provide the display name as show title. The possible values are true or false. So let me choose the control as checkbox and provide a name for this. the default value will be false. The next one is the title text. Since I would need to get the text input from the user, I'm going to use the control as text box. Let me provide a name for this. Remember, each field should be provided with a name. Let me provide the default value as sunburst. The next one is the data label rotation mode. Let me provide the display name. Since there are two rotation modes available, let me use a combo box to do the selection. Let me add the list items for this. The default value will be normal. Let me also modify the name for this. The next one is the ability to show or hide the legend. Since this is very similar to the show title property, let me copy this and paste it over here. Change the values. The next one is the ability to enable or disable the zooming operation. Let me add a checkbox for this too. And also the ability to enable or disable animation. And finally, I would need a combo box to change the animation type. Let me copy this and paste it over here. The possible values are rotation and fade in. The default value will be rotation. We have now successfully configured the properties. Let me remove all the other template properties available. We have now successfully configured the functionalities settings for the custom widget. Let me change the header as basic settings. And finally, we have the filter settings. Your custom widget can act as a master widget, and based on the selection, you can filter data and show in all other widgets available in the dashboard. Based on the capability of your widget, you can add this property or hide it if not necessary. The sunburst chart that I have has the ability to act as a master filter, so the visible property needs to be true, and the default value should also be true, as the widget will be acting as master filter always. The next setting is the ignore master filter. You can ignore the filter actions from other widgets available in the dashboard. Again, this is optional. You can hide it or make it visible. For the sunburst chart, the visible value should be true and the default value should be false, because I don't want to ignore the filter actions. I'm not going to change any of this since this has already been configured. We have configured all the settings in the widgetconfig.json file except the source file settings and dependencies section. Before configuring the source file settings and dependency details, let us take a look at the src folder. The src folder contains the source for your custom widget. Widget.js is just an empty JavaScript file. You can add the source scripts for your custom widget in this file. You can also include your dependent script files in this location. I have the sunburst chart source as a minified.js file, so let me delete this and include the minified.js file over here. The source file.js contains the template methods for rendering your custom widget. Let us take a look at this now. The source file.js contains the unique ID of the widget, which is the same that is present in the widgetconfig.json file, and also it has the widget name, which should be same as that is present in the widgetconfig.js file. Now we have two methods for rendering the custom widget. One is the init method. Init method is triggered whenever the widget is rendered initially. By making use of this method, you can render your custom widget. The second function is the update function. Update function is triggered whenever the widget has to be re-rendered. There are three types of update. First one is the resize update. Whenever the widget is resized within the dashboard designer application or in the dashboard viewer, this type of update is triggered, and you have to render your custom widget by making use of the available size parameters. The second type of update is the refresh update. Whenever the data is refreshed, the widget has to be re-rendered. Finally, we have the property change update. Whenever the widget's properties are changed within the dashboard designer application, this type of update is triggered, and you have to re-render the custom widget by making use of the available parameters. I'm going to configure these methods now and add my scripts to render the Sunburst chart. I have configured the init and update functions now. In the init function, I have used the render Sunburst chart method to render the widget. Let us take a look at this method. This dot element is the container provided for the custom widget to render. You can get the parameters such as width and height from this dot element. All other requirements such as data source, the columns that are bound to the two areas such as value and levels can be obtained from this dot model. And similarly, you can get the value of the properties you configured such as animation type, enable animation, etc. from this dot model dot properties. By making use of all the available parameters that we configured, I have rendered the Sunburst chart. Let us take a look at the update method now. The option parameter provides the parameters for re-rendering the widget. For the resize method, I have obtained the modified size from option.size. In the resize widget method, I have made use of the available height and width and re-rendered the widget using the redraw method of my Sunburst chart. Similarly, for the refresh method, I have got the modified data source from this dot model dot data source. Again, I have redrawn the widget using the Sunburst chart's redraw method. For the property change method, the option.property.name provides the name of the property that has been modified, and also the option.property.value provides the modified value. By making use of the modified value, I have redrawn the widget using the redraw method. I have added one more important function to the source file, that is the selection change function. This selection change function provides the functionality for doing the filtering operation. I will explain about the filtering operation later in this video. Let me save this. Now that we have configured the source file.js and I have also added the source file for rendering the Sunburst chart, let us go back and see what else is needed. I don't have a styles record for this, so let me delete the style folder and readme.txt. I need to add an icon for my Sunburst chart, so let me add an icon in the PNG format. Note that your icon's file name and the widget name in the widgetconfig.json file should be the same. Let me delete this icon and add my own icon. All the requirements are configured now. We need to configure the source file settings in the widgetconfig.json file. For the source file setting, I have used the same source file.js, so I don't have to change this. Let me configure the dependency settings now by providing the relative path for my dependent file. I don't have the dependent styles, so let me remove these settings. And note that if you have a dependent script or style online, you can also provide the online link over here. We have now successfully configured the widgetconfig.json and added the source files. As a final step, we have to compile this template to a valid SYCW file. Let me go back to the console. For compiling the template, make use of the pack command. The syntax is pack command followed by the path of the custom widget. The widget is now packed successfully. You can see an output folder over here where the SYCW file is generated. Now let us go back to the designer and add this custom widget to the dashboard designer application. From the widget menu, choose the manage custom widgets option, and by clicking the add widget button, you can add the Sunburst chart custom widget. You can see the Sunburst chart is added successfully. Let me add a chart to the design canvas. In the properties section, you can see the various basic properties that we configured earlier, such as show title, title text, data label rotation mode, and other things. In the data section, you can see the value and level configuration over here. You can add the data to the axis. Let me configure this widget now. Let me add 2 levels of fields and values. The sunburst chart is now rendered with the provided data. Let us go to the properties section and modify few properties. You can see for each and every property change, the widget is re-rendered with the applied properties. This is how you configure a custom widget and integrate it with the Dashboard Designer application. Further, you can build your dashboards using your own custom widget. Now, let me show you how to debug the JS files and render your own custom widget. Whenever you add a widget to the Dashboard Designer canvas, in your app data folder, under roaming Syncfusion Dashboard Designer, your current version, and under HTML, a HTML file will be generated for each and every widget that is being added to the Dashboard Designer canvas. We have added the sunburst chart now, and so let me open this. This is the chart or custom widget that we configured earlier. Let me open the debugger. As we saw earlier, in the source file.js, we had 2 methods. One is the init method, the other one is the update method. Init method is triggered whenever the widget is rendered initially. Let me debug this. This dot element is the container element provided for the widget to render. You can get all the properties and details required for you to render your own custom widget from here. Bound columns is the details of the columns that are bound to the axis. Earlier, while configuring this custom widget, in the widget configuration area, we had 2 sections. One is the levels and other one is the value. You can see the details of the columns that are bound to axis from here. It contains the column name, the data type, and if the column is a datetime field, you can see the datetime component as well as the datetime format over here. Data source is the complete list of data in the JSON format. Init mode shows the current state of the widget. There are 3 possible values. One is the design time, that is when the widget is being configured in the Dashboard Designer. The second one is the runtime, that is widget is being viewed in the dashboard viewer. The third one is export, that is whenever a widget is exported from the dashboard viewer in any of the available formats. This data bound represents if the data is being bound to the widget. You can see all the details of the properties over here, the properties and their values with which you can render your widget. Now let us take a look at the other method, that is the update method. As I said earlier, there are 3 types of update, that is resize, refresh and property changed. Let us see this one by one. Resize is triggered whenever you resize the widget in the browser. Now you can see that the update function is triggered and you can see the current size of our widget over here. You can make use of this and change your responsive behavior. The next one is the property changed update. Let me open the console. You can debug the property changed update by using the following syntax. You can use the set property method. Now I am going to change the show legend property of the widget. Let me change this to true. You can see the update method is now triggered and the update type is property changed. You can see the details of the property over here. The property name is show legend and the value is true. By making use of these details, you can render the widget. Similarly, whenever the data is refreshed, the refresh update will be triggered and the widget has to be re-rendered accordingly. Now let us see how the interaction between your custom widget and other widgets in the dashboard work. Note that your custom widget can act as a master widget, and based on the selection, data can be filtered and showed in the other widgets too. Let me add a grid widget over here. And bind the necessary columns. The custom widget, that is the Sunburst chat, is made as the master widget, and hence the grid will be acting as a listener widget by default. You can see the settings in the filter configuration manager over here. The grid is marked as listener widget. Let me click on the preview button that is available over here. You can see, based on the selection, the data will be filtered and displayed in the grid. Let us see how this works. There is a selection change function in the Sunburst chat custom widget where you can see how the selection is done. Please make use of the ej.dashboard.filterdata API for doing the selection and filtering the data. Let me select an item now. Create an object for the selected column info and add the selected unique column name and values. Here I have selected a column, and let us see how the data is being added. The condition is include and unique column name is mentioned over here, and the data is given in the values. Remember that the unique column name can be obtained from the this.element where you have the bound columns, and for each column you will be having a unique column name. This is how the filtering should be done when your custom widget acts as a master widget. You may have a question now, what if my widget acts as a slave widget? Remember that there is an update function which will be triggered whenever the widget has to be re-rendered, and here the update type is of type refresh. For example, if your custom widget acts as a slave widget, whenever an item or column is selected, the data refresh update will be triggered, and making use of that you have to re-render your own widget. This grid widget, I have made this as a master widget now, so whenever I select an item, the refresh update will be triggered, and the data is provided with which you can render your widget. Thank you. The documentation link is provided in the description below. Please take a look at the detailed instructions and contact support at Syncfusion for any queries.